Yo, so your brain is damaged because of your porn use. You started noticing that you're viewing women in sexualized ways and you can't view relationships in a healthy, productive way. You've been trying to quit for years, decades even, but you keep going back to the habit even though you absolutely hate it. It's interesting. And it's damaging your brain. It is absolutely damaging your brain. I know exactly what it's like to have a porn addiction most of my life, actually. I finally broke free. And I'm going to give you all a framework to understand not just what it's doing to your brain, but actually how to repair and heal your brain in a way that is going to guarantee that you'll have success. This is what I do every day of my professional full-time work, is I'm helping people with porn addiction. This is not theory. This is real life activity that I'm seeing day to day, how it's affecting people, also how people are repairing their damaged brains. Okay, so I was having a conversation with a young man who asked me this very question: how can I heal my brain? How can I repair the damage I've done to my brain through porn? And so I asked him, first and foremost, what has porn done to your brain? Because until you can identify and label the exact damage that it has done to you and how you came here, then it is very difficult to identify and repair it, because you're trying to fix a car that is broken down without even knowing why it broke down. You're trying to repair a house that is shattering and crumbling without understanding why it's crumbling in the first place. So I asked him, first of all, and I'll give you guys the shortcut answer to this question fundamentally. After many years of almost daily talking with men who are addicted to porn and masturbation, it fundamentally comes down to three damages that are being done to your brain, to your mindset, to your life, right? And those three things, I'll go into detail here, are dopamine, emotions, and relationships. Overarchingly, these are the three primary buckets, okay? And then we can reverse engineer it to figure out exactly how to heal all of these aspects that's affecting your life the most. Dopamine. Without getting technical here and going into the nuanced details of what dopamine is, chemically speaking, basically it is reminding you that if you do not have this activity, XYZ activity, you're going to die without it. It's telling you, it's signaling to you and your brain, to your body, to yourself, that if you don't engage in an activity, you're going to die without it. Not figuratively, by the way. This is not some hypothetical, metaphorical, you're going to die. Your brain actually thinks that you will die if you don't masturbate, if you don't watch porn. And this is fundamentally the fallacy and the reason that most people, if you just ask out in your neighborhood or around the streets, is it okay to masturbate? Is it fine? Is it normal to watch porn and masturbate? Most people in today's Western society will tell you that it's normal, it's fine, it's acceptable, it's even good for you. And that belief in itself is the brain's way of telling everyone that this is fundamentally a necessity to sustain life and to live. Now the question is it? No. Because if you think about it logically for half a second, you realize that people don't need to masturbate to live. People don't need to watch porn to live. Because if you needed something, you would die without it. And you would not die without porn, right? So this is all to say that your brain has been tricking you. It is actually tricking you into believing that you need porn and you need to masturbate, because if you don't, you're going to die. And the dopamine system is real. And your dopamine system is completely out of whack right now, not just because of the porn and masturbation, but also the media that you're consuming. And I'll get to that in a second. The social media that you're consuming has to leave your life. You have to end your relationship with media completely, especially during this time where you're trying to get your life and get your act together. You need to detox off this stuff, all right? So I'll get to that in a second. The second thing that is damaging your brain and your life is your emotions. Now, the tendency that we have as porn addicts have, not myself, is that you tend to go to behaviors to escape difficult emotions, especially when you're stressed, lonely, depressed, anxious, bored. And the reality is that from a very young age, you never learned how to deal with those emotions, and the closest thing that you could grab onto was porn and masturbation. All right? from a young age because you didn't know better. You didn't know how to deal with this stuff. And you've been having unlimited free access to the internet for your entire life. Of course you're going to gravitate to porn and masturbation. Of course you are. You didn't know better. It's not an excuse. It's understanding so that you can know how to deal with it. Not an excuse, guys. Difference. And so the effect is that you have never learned how to deal with emotions in productive ways. You have never learned how to be bored and use boredom to your advantage. You've never learned how to be stressed and use stress to your advantage. To be fearful, how to be lonely, and to not isolate yourself, but to connect with people and to use isolation and loneliness to your advantage. You've never learned to do that. You never have. And so the effect on you and your brain is that you don't have mood regulation. You don't have the one thing that the people that succeed most in life, in business, in relationships, in fitness, in career, the one thing they have is mood regulation. They learn how to direct their emotions in a productive way and not a destructive way. I believe that God gave us all emotions for a reason, all of them, even the most horrific and uncomfortable and difficult emotions you can imagine. Stress, loneliness, boredom, depression even. All emotions that are meant for what? For us to motivate ourselves to do things with our lives. Boredom so that we will get off our butt and do something with our days and our time and our attention. And the fallacy that we've been siphoned into is that we believe that it's reasonable to deal with these emotions through going to supernormal activity like porn, masturbation, drugs, alcohol, social media, yes. And the result is that you don't know how to deal with emotions. That's number 2. And that's okay. We have a solution that's coming. Don't worry. Number 3 is your relationships. As a result of this, of consuming, of flooding your dopamine system with shit and not learning how to mood regulate, the result is you don't have the ability to connect with people. Because when you're feeling difficult things like stress, boredom, and loneliness in your life, anxiety, uncertainty, boredom, what do? You isolate. You go on your phone, you go in your room, you go in the bathroom, you start on YouTube, you start on Instagram, you check out one profile, and before you know it, you're watching porn, you're masturbating, and then you're feeling like garbage again. I know the feeling, guys. I'm not here to judge you. I know it too well. I have compassion. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. And so, the result is that your relationships suffer because you don't know how to connect with people when it counts. You don't know how to look at a woman in the eyes, your mother, your father in the eyes without feeling like you're hiding something. You're living a lie. You have a double-faced life, and you're living with a giant cloud of hypocrisy that is consuming your soul. You're living with shadows that are consuming you. And your relationships suffer because you isolate instead of connect. So that's what's happening. Your dopamine system is completely out of whack. Your emotional mood regulation is shite from a very young age. You've never learned how to do it. And your relationships are suffering as a result because you're isolating instead of connecting, especially when it counts. So let's reverse engineer this thing. I love this, guys. This is what I live for. I guarantee you, if you do the 3 things I'm about to tell you, you will dominate life. Not just in porn recovery and sexual integrity. You will dominate every aspect of your life because you will need nothing else to keep you motivated, to keep you on top of this world and of the 1% of the men in this world that are dominating life. Guaranteed. I've seen it way too many times in my own life and in others. Okay, dopamine system. It's not a question of do you watch porn or not. That's not what we're talking about. The question is, do you consume endless media or not? And at this time where you're trying to have sobriety, when you're trying to beat a porn addiction, it makes 0 sense to spend any time on social media at all whatsoever. It's the same as a recovering alcoholic that's deciding to spend time at the bar, at the nightclubs. Does that make any logical sense? No. Why? Because the micro decisions that it takes for you to go from sober to drinking alcohol to binge watching porn are so minute that you don't even notice it. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to detox. You have to go eliminate all the bars, nightclubs, friends in your life that are associated with that behavior, and you have to detox all media, all of it, temporarily. For now, while you're recovering and healing your brain, you have to detox every single form of social media. All of it. All news, all TV, all movies, all of it. Now, there are some things you can introduce into your life if you want. So for me, for example, I have one show I watch every day for 30 minutes, and that is all the media I consume, period. One show per day. Usually it's something mindless and silly like Rick and Morty or Dragon Ball Z. That's what I'm into right now. And it just turns my brain out, helps me relax, and I am in charge of my media, not the other way around where I'm mindlessly scrolling through Instagram and YouTube. None of that. I'm in control. You can watch one video from this channel per day if you want, or a bunch of videos, who knows. But you're being mindful and not mindless, and that's the name of the game. You have to detox so that your dopamine system can rewire. There's a study that was done that shows that it takes 28 days for the dopamine system to rewire to come to normal levels again. So at least for 28 days, 4 weeks of just completely detoxing and rewiring your brain from all social media, okay? And the result is that you will be less triggered to go down that rabbit hole of watching pornographic content because you will not be consuming sexual content at all, right? But also, to the second point, emotions. You can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I'm willing to bet with my life that the reasons that you go to social media in the first place are when you're feeling difficult emotions, okay? And in turn, the reasons you use porn are usually the same reasons that you use social media. They're actually more closely linked than anyone realizes. You're stressed, you go to social media, to YouTube, to Instagram, to TikTok. You're bored, social media, video games. You're feeling lonely, social media, video games, porn. It's the same thing. So if you can detox social media and learn how to, in those moments, when you have a decision to make, you're at a fork in a road, I can isolate myself and go on my media binge watching, get my fix, or I can do something alternative and use these emotions to my advantage in a productive, constructive way. That's the choice. That's where it starts. I've seen this way too many times to not have enough conviction to tell you guys with certainty. The porn addiction starts with, I'm feeling a difficult emotion and I just want to be alone. I want to go in my room and I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to go in the bathroom. I'm going to go on Instagram. That's where it starts. I'm going to isolate myself and I'm going to play video games. That's where it starts. And the reason it's so insidious and so subtle is that everyone thinks that's normal behavior. That's acceptable behavior, but it is not. Why? Because you're linking a negative emotion with an addictive behavior, with a dopamine rush, and that's how addictions are formed. And then before you know it, you're going down that rabbit hole and you're going to be watching porn and masturbating before you know it. I know you know this is true. That's why I'm smiling. It's absolutely 100% true all the time, all right? So when you have detoxed all this stuff and you are able to identify the emotions that lead you to wanting to escape, and instead of dealing with those emotions in a destructive way, finding productive ways to deal with stuff, okay? So how do we deal with these emotions in a productive way? I'll make this really simple for you guys. How did our ancestors deal with emotions since the beginning of the dawn of human existence? How did our ancestors deal with emotions? There are 3 buckets of ways to deal with emotions, 3 primary ways that have always existed until the last few decades, all right? It's move your body, internalize, or share. Move your body means hunting, exercise, fitness, competition, push-ups, running, jogging, whatever. Moving, internalizing is prayer, meditation, and journaling, writing down your thoughts. Sharing is what women typically are better at doing, which is why they don't struggle with addictions, by the way, as much as men do. As much as men do, generally speaking. I always have to put that there. Is that you are connecting with someone, sharing with someone. Of these 3, there is one that dominates all of them. It's sharing with someone. Why is that? Because you're addressing the issue at hand. You're actually addressing the root emotion. You're not just masking it like you have been. You're not just pushing through it. You're actually trying to address the addiction at its core. Across the board, men struggle with addiction in every category more than women do. Why? Women generally, their first thought is not, I want to stop feeling. Their first thought is, who can I talk to, right? Who can I share this with? And a man's first reaction usually is, how do I stop feeling this emotion? How do I escape this and numb myself? Which is why men develop addictions usually across the board more than women do, all right? So That's the solution to number 3. Your relationships suffer because you isolate instead of connect. And the solution to that is, if you can, at those moments when you're feeling a difficult emotion, say, I'm going to move my body, I'm going to internalize this emotion, or I'm going to share with someone. And if you just do that, I promise you, you can come back and let me know after you do this for 1 week. Let me know in the comments. I promise you, this will change your life. Because all of a sudden, you're going from reactive, emotional, squashing your emotions, letting your emotions control you, to being dominant over your emotions and utilizing them to your advantage because you feel stressed and you say, man, I'm stressed. Good. What can I do with this? How can I utilize this to dominate life, to work harder in my career, to make more money? I feel stressed about finances. I'm going to make more money. I feel lonely and alone. I'm going to use this to find a wife and have children, to connect with people. I feel bored. I'm going to use this boredom to work on something, to work out, to move my body. And that's how the most successful people in the world succeed, is because they understand this fundamental, very primal, ancestral approach to dealing with life. And that is the solution, my friends. That is where you have it. So, your brain is damaged, and you're thinking, is it really worth undoing the damage? And is it possible to undo the damage that's already been done? Yes, it is possible. How do I know this? Because you've trained your brain into this, which means you can train your brain out of it. That's how I know. How else do I know? Because you can look at the people around me as evidence. Look at the people around you. There are hundreds of thousands of accounts of people in these communities, religious communities, nofap communities, that are practicing this stuff and rewiring their brain. So it's possible that it's possible. It's evident that it is possible for you too, okay? And you just have to be able to see it in your life and believe that it's possible and take action towards it. Just do this one thing. Take these pieces of advice that I'm giving you, apply it for 1 week in your life, do the complete total detox from all social media, and you will dominate life. That's all it takes. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. You can do this. You absolutely can. I'll see you in the next video.